my lovely and darling viewers, it's Jen here at Check Her Joy, and this time I'm reviewing The Crown by Kiera Cass. This is the last book in the selection series, so go start with the selection, and I will post the links to my reviews for the other books in the description below. So check those out first. This will spoil the Heir book before this and, everything else. I'm going to start off with a non-spoilery section for this book, but there will be a spoilery section halfway through towards the end. So in the Heir, there are kind of these two really big game-changing things that happen at the very end. America has a heart attack, and that is how the book ends, and it's kind of the reason why I needed to read this book right away. I'm like, so what happened to America? Is she okay? And I don't want to spoil that for you, but it is a very big part of this opening part of this book, and how Eadlyn and her family, and especially Maxon, are dealing with what's happening to America. And Maxon is really hit hard by what's happening to America, and so he hands over the country temporarily to Eadlyn, and she's ruling as regent. And so this is a huge game changer in this book. We go from every other book in the selection has focused on the heir who was going to inherit the throne, and here we actually get to see Eadlyn dealing with running the country, on her own. And really why they need to find somebody else to do it with them and have advisors that you trust. The other thing that happened at the end of the Heir that plays a huge part in this book is Aaron leaving to marry Camille in France. And also, when he left, he just, bolted. But he left Eadlyn a letter where he very specifically tells her why he had to go without telling anybody, and lays out several of Eadlyn's character faults. And she's really dealing with how the country perceives her. She's been sheltered and didn't know that the country hates her and wants the monarchy dissolved. And so this plays a huge part of how Eadlyn's acting and tries to lead. She's running the country now, and she's afraid that she's going to let everybody down, that they're going to, revolt. So she really is struggling with how she wants to run the country and how she wants her people to see her. She also struggles with whether or not she should keep the selection going while everything else is happening. Her whole world just changed. The whole country just got flipped upside down. And so she's and the selection is so much stress. Can she possibly give all these boys attention? And so Eadlyn cuts this down to the elite, to 6 boys, right away. And it's also more about her dealing with ruling the country than it is about her being romantically involved with any of the boys. And I like this twist that's focused on Eadlyn. In the first series, we're dealing with Maxon and America trying to do things together, and in The Crown, Eadlyn is trying to do it on her own. She has advisors and trying to figure out who she can trust, but she doesn't have somebody like America is to her dad. She doesn't have that kind of confidant anymore, especially with Aaron left. All of a sudden, her mom, her dad, and her twin brother are out of the picture, and she's trying to figure out who she does trust and who she wants to be by her side, who's going to lead with her. And so Lady Bryce, one of her dad's advisors, steps into that role, and she also relies very heavily on General Ledger, and we get to see how important Aspen is to her family and to Eadlyn. And it's so cool to see. She admits that Aspen is this secondary parent to her, this backup parent, and it's so cool to see that. Also in this book, we get to see a lot more of why Marley and Aspen and Lucy are still in the palace, why they are still standing by America and Maxim in such a close proximity. Not that they couldn't have helped them somewhere else, but they are right by their side every day, kind of thing, and see that devotion, to see how Maxim and America views them, and also how they view Maxim and America. And I love that aspect of this book, getting to see these relationships evolve. With Eadlyn ruling the country, she's kind of undergoing a trial by fire here. Everything that happens is such a big deal and such a game changer, defining moment in her life. How she deals with advisors who suggest they should go to war with France over Aspen leaving, or how she needs to look on the report now that she's doing it on her own because her parents are not there. We get to see Eadlyn kind of stepping up and helping take care of her younger brothers at the same time. And we get to see her relationship with each of the elite change and shift as Eadlyn's role in the country changes. This book doesn't have as much of the romantic stuff going on. There aren't as many dates in this book. She's not as like over the moon in love with anybody the way Maxim was with America. And so the selection operates a lot differently in these last two books than it did previously. Cool to really see this different view of what the selection can be and to see Eadlyn's character through these changes. My main problem with the Heir when we first meet Eadlyn is that she's such a spoiled brat and so self-centered and has such a small worldview. And kind of over the course of the Heir, but especially in the Crown, like her view of the world keeps getting bigger and she's trying so much harder to be empathetic and compassionate to other people in her country and to really see what's going on. So I liked not just that her character is developing, but the way in which it is developing and how she's becoming stronger, how she is really faced with, how do I be a strong leader and be feminine? How do I be independent but also need people around me? That, needing advisors is not the same thing as not being competent and capable of running, that she does. They can complement her and it is ultimately her decision what's happening. And she does still have Maxim in the palace. Like, she could go ask her dad if she felt she needed to, which is a cool dynamic too, to like have that backup. So the selection does shift because Eadlyn's in charge. She doesn't have the time to go on dates as much. She's cut it down to an elite. And it's more about her figuring out what she wants out of a husband and then figuring out which of the boys can give that to her. And so it's a lot more of serious conversations. Stuff like her mom and her dad did when they were like walk through the garden. And so Eadlyn's taking more time to figure out what each of these boys are like and how that fits up against her expectations. And also what her expectations are. Eadlyn does want to fall in love. Like, she wants what her parents have. She wants a relationship that is that open and that strong. And she's struggling to figure out if any of these boys have that for her. It's about Eadlyn figuring out who she is as much as anything else in this book. In this book, we are also introduced to a new character, Mairid Ilia, who is August and Georgia's son. And we find out why August and Georgia aren't in the palace. And he offers to help Eadlyn as like a new advisor to like help her know, to help her like keep her pulse on the country from somebody who is outside the palace and who does know the people very well and the people trust him. So she has this potential new ally and she needs to decide if to trust him or how much to trust him. And it complicates things. He kind of comes off and like the public is like obsessed with him and all of a sudden the public is shipping the two of them and Eadlyn's like, wait, I have a selection going on. I have these boys already. Like, I can't just pick somebody else. Can I? Mayra definitely shifts everything and changes the game also. So this book was also interesting to me personally because I had listened to the audiobook for the Heir, and so when I went to read this book, I got to see all the really interesting spellings of the names, and it took me a while to figure out who Aaron was when it was spelled A-H-R-E-N. Like, what? And Austin's name, and each of the boys, and I'm like, it took me a second to figure out who they were. At first I was like, who is that? Who is this person? Are you introducing new characters? And I'm like, oh, those are her brothers. Those are the boys in the selection. Also, the copy of the book that I have is the Target edition, which has fan art, which I love, and it's awesome. And unlike Winter, this one actually has sourcing for who the authors are, or the artists are. So excited about that. I love my edition. Apparently, one of the editions has a bonus story in it, though, which I did not know, and probably would have gotten that over the fan art if I had known this edition existed. I really loved this book, and I loved getting to see Eadlyn's journey and how she changes and how she deals with ruling. and that this isn't just another selection, that it does add to what's going on in Ilia and the selection process. Eadlyn definitely became my girl. Like, even by the end of the Heir, I was like rooting for Eadlyn. I'm like, heck yeah, she's awesome. Even though at the beginning of the book I was not so thrilled with her. By the end of this book, I think she is freaking amazing and really is the most powerful girl in the world. So, you go, Eadlyn. Um, I think that's the end of my non-spoilery bits. So if you haven't read this book yet, go do that, and then you can come back later and watch the rest of it. If you have read it, let's go. Going into this book, I was really rooting for Eric, but kind of felt like Kyle would have been an acceptable choice, and so I was really excited about the way this book laid out, how it happened, and also kind of kept me guessing too, like, is she gonna pick Kyle? Is she gonna marry Kyle? Is she gonna marry Eric? Is she gonna marry Hale? So there were all these guys that I would have been okay with. And also when we got to know more about Gunnar and Fox, and kind of like, you guys, I'm not okay with you two. You guys really need to leave. But at the same time, feeling America with her, if I get it down to these three, then I have to pick. So I get her trying to keep this like safe bubble. Her relationship with the boys evolved was so cool. To see her and Henry, and her really trying to learn more about Swandway and Swandish. I think that's the name of the language. And then she also tries to get the rest of the elite to learn his language also, which is so cool. And so Eric becomes a much bigger part of this book and how he interacts with Eadlyn, but also the rest of the boys. And he definitely becomes part of this group, even though he's always trying to set himself apart. And then when we find out that it's because that he really starts making an effort to separate himself from the group is when he figures out that he's in love with Eadlyn. So excited. I love the scene after the coronation where he and Eadlyn kind of confess their love, and so cute and adorable. I really love Eric, guys. I also like the moments between her and Kyle and them really being best friends, especially after they've been like fighting at the beginning of the Heir. So get to see their relationship develop and how they really see each other now. And I feel like Kyle could have been an okay guy. Like, they could have gotten there. They would have at least had a strong friendship and trusted each other. But definitely I'm glad that she picked Eric. And of course, there's a moment where I was like, is she gonna propose to Henry? Is that happening? And she did it, and I was like, what? And then ultimately it's Henry who says, hey, you really love him. He really loves you. Sticking with that for a bit, the moment when she's completely beside herself and she's stressing out at the very last minute, and the one person she needs to talk to about all of this is her dad. And I love seeing her relationship with Maxim. Like, we definitely see this father-daughter thing so much clearer in this book. To see how much he loves Eadlyn and accepts her for who she is, but also he has an immense amount of trust in her to literally give her the crown and say, okay, you're ready, run the country. I love their relationship together and how Eadlyn is looking after her dad also. Like, she's worried about America as America's kind of recovering, but she's also worried about her dad and how he's taking it. I love the fact that it's 7 minutes at the end of the book. When she has this conversation with her dad, it's 7 minutes, which is the same amount of time that like she and Aaron are apart. Like, she became the heir because of the 7-minute difference between her and Aaron. But it's also these 7 minutes that really make her decide her life, I guess. And then there's another 7 minutes that changes everything. Going back to the boys, we have this relationship with Gunnar, which is kind of, I didn't really know how to feel about that. Like, on one hand, I was like, okay, but I don't really remember him from the Heir, so who is he? And then when they do get to know each other, it's kind of weird. I think it's Gunnar that she has the kiss with, where they like have this moment where they're like, no, it doesn't work. Like, it was nice, but it's no like firework moment, and it totally reminded me of the Princess Diaries too. And in fact, this entire book kind of reminds me of the second Princess Diaries movie, now that I'm thinking about it. Especially with the ending, where she kind of just changes the game with this announcement. When she becomes the queen, takes over the crown, picks the husband that nobody saw coming, and completely changes the course of the country by instituting the constitutional monarchy. Like, I love Eadlyn. That was so kick-ass. Mayred. That little shit. Mayred. Didn't trust him much to begin with, and then I was kind of hoping I was wrong, but no, I wasn't wrong. He is a complete and total asshat. The way he tries to manipulate her, um, and use her for his own political gain, and exploit her inexperience, not cool. And he tries to turn the public against her and make her marry him because it would look good for the country, and they might revolt otherwise. And I'm like, you little shit. Seriously. Pretty much, I think I might have had him locked up. I don't care how bad that would have looked with the public. I'm so not marrying him. He can go rot in jail. It was good that he brought together everybody for that town hall meeting, but it was definitely staged and swayed for him. But I'm glad that Eadlyn got to see the people, and that led to her decision to change the country and make it a constitutional monarchy. And I'm glad that she didn't just step down and just dissolve the monarchy either. The thing with her taking over for Maxim, I'm glad that she does that for her dad and not just because she wants power. That could have gone so badly and so differently, and I'm sure there are so many people who would view that as something else. But her motivations for taking on the crown officially, I love that. And how happy it makes Maxim and America, and I'm glad that they finally get to be together in totally adorableness. I'm really glad that neither Maxim or America died. I was really worried that was going to happen. That America was going to die, or both of them were going to die, but phew. Oh, so relieved. So relieved. Ian and Hale being in love with each other. What? I love that so much. It's such a cute little thing to add to the story. I love that thing where they just realize it, and the complications of what being gay means in this country, how that the societal pressures in Ilya, and why it's so banned to she flat out Kiera Cass flat out explains why they couldn't be together, why they would hide that, even going so far as to enter the selection. We also see her relationship with Josie change and evolve, and I love the moment when Josie first steps into the office and is kind of finally sees what it means to rule, and she's like, oh shit, and scared, and really grew up, and this one moment Josie's like, I don't want to be the princess anymore. Just kidding. And how she and America can finally kind of be friends after that, once they make this realization. But she's still also a kid, and she still wants her brother to marry Eadlyn. So she doesn't change that much. I really love her and Eric together. Eadlyn and Eric together. And I like Josie and Caden together. They're so cute. Little young love. And she could really be a princess. So much stuff happened in this book, and it could have felt incredibly rushed, but it didn't. Seriously love Eadlyn's problem solving in this book, and how she handles being queen. When she banishes Kyle, oh my goodness, she kicks Kyle out, and it's kind of what he needs to you can't be at the palace, but also she sends him off to go do what he wants to do in the first place, what he started off wanting before the selection happened. So that's cool. And then she grants him a reprieve so he can come back at Christmas and at birthdays and stuff, which is cool. But then there's also dealing with the ramifications of that, where Marley completely freaks out. How did you exile my son? And you definitely get to see what being at the palace means to Marley, but also what her kids mean to her. She loves Eric despite all the bad reasons. Eric doesn't want attention. He doesn't want his picture taken. He wasn't even part of the selection. Nobody knows who he is, and she has to kind of plead her case to her dad. I love this guy. And Maxon's just I am so happy that you finally fell in love with anybody that I do not care who it is, you go for it, girl, and I love that. And also when he kind of explains everything to Eadlyn, like how you know, he's a traitor for protecting Lady Bryce, how his mom is a traitor, and all the rules she broken during the selection. Um, but mostly about the trying getting guns to the rebels. Um, I feel like there was somebody else in her family who was also Aaron's a traitor for running off um, to France. Like everybody in their family was like, just do what you need to do, Eadlyn. Book is amazing. I love how all the characters grow and evolve and how we get to see them. And I especially liked this ending to Maxon and America's story. I do feel like I need more though. I want to see what the constitutional monarchy does to the country, and I want to see her and Eric's relationship. On the whole, I absolutely adored this book. I seriously just it's amazing, fantastic, and wonderful, and everything that I was hoping for this book, and it could have totally turned out differently, and I could have had a completely different response. I really, really love it, guys. In case you cannot tell, everything about this book is perfect. Um, well, I could have done without Mayrid actually, that little shit. But anyway, there's my review for The Crown by Kiera Cass. Yeah, peace out. I love you guys, and keep reading. Bye.